Hello, everybody. You're welcome to part 13 of world history. We started from the time of Adam and we are running it until the present day. And we thank you for those that have joined us up till this time. Thank you for your time. So, like we used to say, the reason why we're doing this is so that we can open our hearts to God, turn away from wickedness if we are going in that direction, and if you are in the faith, so that you can be encouraged to continue. And as usual, we'll learn some new things today. Like there's something called the Renaissance paintings. We'll learn when the Renaissance paintings really started. And also would learn about arguably the most government renamed place in the whole world. That place has about 28,000 topographic names that were changed, and that included 12,200 villages and towns and town names, and 4,000 mountains, rivers, and other topographic names. It is one thing for a country to have 28,000 of names of their city recorded somewhere. Most countries, especially third world countries, just rely on Google, okay, largely. But then for a country to rename 28,000, to give 28,000 names to places that had different names before, and it's done by the government, not by natural migration, immigration, and things like that. So it definitely it must have a very important reason for them to do that. So, and thirdly, we'll learn why prophetic misinterpretations happen, particularly biblical prophetic misinterpretations, and what we like to call end time prophecies. The reasons why people tend to mistake prophecy interpretations. So we'll touch on, and the reason is usually because of timelining and not seeing the bigger picture of things. Then finally we'll learn that the Seleucid Empire was in Africa. If you have studied this thing at all, you know you expect it to be in the Middle East, or what is called Asia Minor, but it's actually in Africa. Okay? And they are the kings of the south in Daniel 11. Okay, before we continue, let's pray, so we can engage the Spirit of God to help us. Most High God, we thank you for this beautiful time and this beautiful day. We thank you for your love. We thank you for your guidance. We ask that because we are gathered in your name, we ask that you open our hearts and show us beautiful things out of your law. Help us to know you more by this study. Open our hearts so we can see the things you will have us see for this time and this season. In the name of Yeshua, we have prayed. Amen. Okay, let's get started. Let's have a quick recap on timeline first. Okay, let's have a quick recap on timeline. Just to see how far we've gone, and to see where we are, because sometimes it helps to, when you see, if you see the bigger picture of things, you can tell, okay, we are here, okay, we are there, we're about moving here. You can tell where we're at, not that it's just some disconnected chunk from the whole thing. It may be a little confusing that way. Okay, by the way, you can download these on the links to download them are below. Okay, so this is the world history timeline. It goes something from around 4,000 BC to present day, to 2020 or what have you, or 2030, whenever that is. So and this is what we have. So we're running from Adam. I wish you can see this. So from Adam to Enoch to Noah's flood, and he had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And this Shem has 5 sons. Okay, Arphaxad, the story follows Arphaxad because that's the lineage of Yeshua. Okay, so that is Ham, and this is Nimrod, the one who built the Tower of Babel, was in charge of that. Mizraim, this is Egypt, and that's Japheth. This is where the Ashkenazi came from, those who are converted from this people. Sometimes these videos can get flagged because of things like that. So they are converted Jews, okay, in the modern state of this country, okay, in the Levant. All right, so they are not the real Jews are from this tribe, okay. So they are different people at the very best. Okay, so and Arphaxad gave birth to Salah. Eber, this is where the name Hebrew probably was gotten from. Okay. And Hebrew is also the language of creation. We found that in this. You can just check this right now if you have the time. Jubilees 12:26-27. Hebrew is the language of creation. So Peleg was the son of Eber. It was in his days that the earth was divided amongst everyone, including him. It was divided by this man, by the Spirit of God, and divided it for his children and his children's children up to this generation. Okay, all of them were alive. He was still alive when this young man was born. So Abraham, the son of, along that line really, is not the direct, well, here it is. Peleg, Reu, Serug, Nahor, Terah, and Terah gave birth to Abraham. So he moved south, okay? He moved south from Egypt. There was a time he left Egypt and he moved southward. This was around 2000 BC, okay? And he went to Canaan's land, the land that this Canaan, you see, this Canaan took Shem's land. This is written in Jubilees 10:29. It took part of Shem's land when the land was divided by Noah in the days when Peleg was born, okay? So he moved south. Let's see the map so that we can have all that together. Okay. So just a quick look. So when Abraham went to Egypt, he moved southward into the, this is where he was born. So he went to Egypt at the time. So he came down towards the south into this land of promise. So this is the portion of the land for Yasharel and Judah, not this place. Okay, and so that's by the way. Okay, so yeah, so and he gave birth to Isaac. Isaac gave birth to Jacob. Is the father of Israelites. Isaac is kind of a very quiet guy. Okay, so he's the father of the Israelites. Jacob, Yasharel. Okay, so the Israelites were in slavery in Egypt for about, say, 200 years, thereabout. We talked about that in chapter 10, how it is 200 years and not 400 or 430 or anything. So, then there was the exodus to the promised land, and they crossed the Nile. Okay, when they were going to the promised land, they crossed the Nile from east to west into this land. Okay, when they left Egypt, they did not cross this way, just this way, and they did not cross the Red Sea. They crossed the Sea of Reeds, which is the Nile, the Tigris, Hiddekel. Okay, this is what they crossed, Hiddekel River, from the east to the west. That was covered in part 10. Okay, so and they asked for a king. First, there were judges. Samuel was the last judge, and there were judges, and Samuel was the last judge. They asked for a king. They gave them a king. They disobeyed, and at the end of the day, after 200 years thereabout, they were carried into captivity. Okay, so all these three charts actually go together. It's difficult to talk about one without talking about the others. Where is that? Yeah, there it is. Okay, so difficult to talk about one without talking about the others. And the table of nations. Okay, so they were taken to by Assyria, and Assyria, by the way, is somewhere around here. Okay, it's the east of this Tigris. And we covered, and just for the sake of repetition, when you see these names here, how are they here? It is written here, S2. So S2 is a reference number. You can scroll down and check S2, what S2 means here. You go to S and you go to 2. It will tell you why that S2, why that place Haran or wherever it is written. The explanations are here. Okay. Alright, so let's keep going in timeline. So they were taking Assyrian captivity, took over. They had victory over Judah, but they didn't carry Judah captive. They took Israel captive, the northern kingdom, somewhere around Nigeria, all through that line. The northern kingdom of Israel was here. Okay, basically still there. And then the southern kingdom was taken by Babylon later. Then when it was time for Persia, the Persian king released them to go back, okay, allowing exiled Jews to return to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple. Okay. And then the Persians gave way for the Greek, okay, the Greek, and then the Greek was in charge of the whole world, literally, starting from Alexander, who is called the Great. He conquered Persia, okay, and then he had some generals. So we are basically just about here in history, okay, just where we are. So we, at the same time, we are here because we're speaking about Daniel, who lived around this time. But his prophecies covered literally everything into the future to a very large extent. Okay, up until the time of Yeshua at the very least. Okay, and slightly past that. So we are basically somewhere from Babylon, okay, onto the time of Yeshua. So this is the bracket of time where we are dealing with. Around that same time, these things was also happening. These also contemporary, running parallel. This was when there was 70-year exile in Babylon, when the Septuagint was written, when the Maccabees wars and revolts took place, and then when there was the Roman captivity, handing over from the Greek captivity to the Roman captivity, okay? And John writes the book of Revelation, somewhere around here. Thank you, Father. Okay, so that's where we are in time. So now, the main parts of our history, as we've been studying it, is we started by saying it's just languages, peoples, and lands or locations, okay? But over time, because we're getting to a point where we have to merge history and prophecy, okay? Because prophecy is basically supposed to tell what's going to happen, and there's some things that prophecy has spoken that have happened because those men really walked with God, okay? They really walked with God, and they saw things. So as we begin to merge history and prophecy together, we had to a little bit expand the components of the things we study. It used to be the language, the people, and then the lands, but we start to include timelines, and now we're adding one more component, okay, which is the events, okay, that took place over time. So that's why we have these 5 components here. Okay, so we've done a recap of timeline. So, and like we said, we are stopping at Daniel because of the importance of Daniel in prophecy. His prophecy covers a very large portion of history. If we have a look at this chart, it's just a chart that shows kings and prophets of Israel and Judah. Okay, so the kingdom was split from the time of the son of Solomon. Okay, so these are the prophets that we have here, and we picked on Daniel because of his prophecies are very, very vast. Okay, and it covers a very large portion of time in history, and most of his prophecies have already taken place. That's why we picked Daniel. All right, so we started reading Daniel 1. We were basically going through all of the chapters. We stopped in chapter 7 the last time. We're entering into 8. But just to quickly do a quick recap of that, this was what the scripture says. So he said he saw an image of a statue, and it has a head of gold. And then with the head of gold, it has the chest of silver, it has the trunk of bronze, legs of iron, and the feet are of iron and clay. And then a stone was cut without hands, which came and smote it at its feet, and it crumbled. And when it crumbled, it became literally like dust, and there was no place found for all of the image at the end of the day. There was nothing found of them, okay, because of that stone. All right then, and then we kept reading. We put that image right here, okay, and the images of gold, silver, brass, iron and clay. These things are just verses we've read ahead. The first one is Nebuchadnezzar, and then it talks about the iron to break in pieces, okay, and bruise. And this one is a divided kingdom, partly strong, partly broken. They will mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave. Okay, and we kept dropping the prophecies like that. This everlasting kingdom, represented by the stone, will break things in pieces, and it will last forever. And this second dynasty is that of the Medes and the Persians. Darius was a Mede, and he saw another vision: lion with wings, bear with 3 ribs in his mouth, this beast that looks like a leopard, and then a diverse beast, okay, and it has a horn speaking things. And the Ancient of Days came eventually. Judgment was given to the saints of the Most High to possess the kingdom. So this mouth was speaking great things. It looks more stout. It made war with the saints. He prevailed against them. This one had 10 horns, which shows 10 kingdoms, okay, and it was given unto it for time and dividing of time. So this was where we stopped the last time, okay. That's just where we stopped, and we said we're going to decode the times. God helping us, okay. It's quite a lot of things to say. So let's continue this animation basically, okay. This is where we stopped the last time. So we have selected what's this thing called, and verses that are important that have to do with the prophecy, okay. So let's run. So we are probably not reading everything. We're just reading these selected verses. Pray that God blesses the reading of His word in our hearts. Okay, so in the 3rd year of the reign of the king Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at first. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood in the river a ram which had 2 horns. Okay, so that's a ram which had 2 horns. Apparently, because we understand how things happened, we know that this ram is representing this dynasty. That's why we placed it there. But you see yourself shortly, and you would agree with it probably. Okay, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. I saw the ram pushing westward and northward, southward, and no beast might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great. And as I was considering, behold, a he-goat came from the west, okay, on the face of the whole earth, okay, and touched not the ground. And he-goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Let's see that. Okay, that's it. Okay, notable horn within its eyes. Okay, let's keep reading. And it came to that ram which had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him with fury, okay, of his power. And I saw him come close to the ram, and he moved with color against him, and smote the ram, break the 2 horns, and there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of the hand of the goat, basically. So therefore that he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken. That is, this horn of it was broken. And for it came up 4 notable horns towards the 4 winds of heaven, and out of one of them came forth a little horn. Okay, see, 4 winds, 4 horns. Okay, out of one of them came forth a little horn. Okay, this is the same goat. One horn is gone, 4 has come up against it, and then 1 little horn came up out of the 4. Okay, let's keep reading. Where were we? Okay, and that little horn waxed exceeding great towards the south and the east and towards the pleasant land. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven. Okay, let's see. Pleasant land, yes. Okay, waxed to the host of heaven and cast some of the stars and stamped upon the stars. Okay, let's keep reading. So we're just putting these things here. By the way, these things was revealed unto Daniel in form of a picture. Okay, they were revealed unto him in form of a picture. So what we are trying to do apparently is to put it back in picture form, so to speak. Okay, because they came to him in form of pictures and he had to write them in text. The text have apparently been translated, but they want to take it back from text back to pictures as much as possible. Is what we are trying to do. It helps to see it better. Okay, so let's get back to it. It was great in the host of heaven. It seems this host of heaven means believers, and it puts stars to the ground. I think it means believers, but let's just keep reading. We'll see all that. So yea, he magnified himself even unto the prince of the host. Aha, there we go. And by him daily sacrifices were taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. Oh yeah, I think we put that down. Yeah, was cast down. And the host of and host was given unto him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression of the people apparently, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. Okay, practiced and prospered. Okay, let's keep going. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, how long shall the vision, this word the vision, okay, you need to note it. Just keep noting the things we are keeping in bold, but then we'll put them here so that it's difficult to have all things in mind at once. That's why we created a canvas and started dropping things here, so we can see them in one at a go. Okay, so there's something called the vision. This is the vision is talking about a particular time. It's talking about that very end, concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of the desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden down the foot. How long would they keep trodden down the people of God? And he said unto me, until 2,300 days. We just put it in number. Again, this is easier to catch when you look at it once like this. But this text is kind of long. But when you see 2,300, you know that's it. It's easier to see in form of a picture like that. Then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Okay. And he said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation. And at the time appointed, the end shall be. So we have kept anything that has to do with time in this color. Well, probably except this whole thing. But everything that have to do with time, like we said, note the times are in brown. Okay. Because apparently, like we said, we are talking about timeline. If you check the title, this part 13, we're talking more about timeline as against languages or peoples or lands or events. All of it ties together, but we are basically following timeline. Okay, so that's why things in timeline are written in brown for us to see clearly. So the ram which you saw having two horns, we have jumped. Okay, not quite. So is the kings of Media and Persia. So apparently you understand why we put this under Media and Persia here. Okay. And the rough goat which you see is the king of Grecia, king or kingdom of Grecia. Okay. But let's keep reading. And the great horn which is between his eyes is the first king of Grecia. So this horn is the first king of Greece. Okay. This is Greece, by the way. Let's see if we have that. Okay, yeah, so we're still putting that 2,300 days. Also brown here. Okay. And then the first king of Grecia is Alexander, who is called the Great. Okay, so let's quickly prove that to you. There's a book called Maccabees. So first Maccabees, the very first thing that was written in the book of Maccabees is this. First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 1. It describes events around 167 to 160 BC. Let's have a quick look at that in time line. So there you have it, thereabout. Okay, the Maccabees wars to retain Jerusalem and sustain, I hope you can see that, to retain Jerusalem and sustain the keeping of the laws of Yahweh and the Sabbath, despite the killings and persecutions by the Greeks. So around 175 to 134 BC. It took about 41 years. That's the war particularly. Okay. So so there you have it. Yeah, so this is quite broader, this you have here, but this is a little more narrow. This is just the space of 7 years as described by this book. Okay, so whether it's scripture or not, let's still leave that. It's for the purpose of this conversation, that is not too important to argue about or to discuss about. So at the very least, take it as a historical document. That's at the very least. Okay, because like I said, now prophecy and history are beginning to merge. Okay, so we can understand things, and hopefully the purpose of this thing is to help you see how great our God is, how great the Most High is, and how He's shown His servant things ahead, and it's wonderful. If you did not respect the scripture before, it's time to think again, to see how beautiful the scriptures are and how God is. Okay, and it helps you see that there is a God in heaven. Okay, so it happened after Alexander the Great. We're reading from 1 Maccabees 1:1. It happened after Alexander, the son of Philip, that's the name of his father, the Macedonian. Macedon is a province in Greece. So who came out of the land of Kittim. Kittim is Cyprus. He had smitten Darius, the king of the Persians and the Medes. Okay, and he reigned in the stead of that king. He is the first over Greece, you see. So just to have a look, this is Cyprus. Okay, this is Greece. Macedon is slightly north of Greece, I believe. Okay, so he came from Cyprus. Cyprus is Kittim. To prove that to you, well, just go search it yourself. You see that Cyprus is Kittim. So it might be noteworthy to see that Cyprus, what Cyprus is to Turkey is what Crete is to Greece. Okay, and that is what Malta Malta is to Italy. So there is a tiny island south of, just somewhere here. Okay, that might just noteworthy, but that's by the way. Okay, so he's the first king of the Greek. That's what we want to establish. Okay, so the horn is Alexander the Great. He's the first king. Is that horn? Okay, yeah, that's what it said. Okay, now let's touch a little more on Alexander before we proceed. This is the source of this, to tell you when, although this map is wrong apparently, this is not where Yasharel is. This is not where Judea is. It's in Africa. Okay, so and we've dealt with that if we go to the previous part. So the main phase of the revolt lasted from this part, okay, this time, and that's the main phase, and ended with the Seleucid control of Judea. Seleucid, we should get what Seleucid means if you don't know. So, and the conflict between the Maccabees, Hellenized Jews, and the Seleucids continued till 134 BC, with the Maccabees eventually attaining independence, okay, to some extent. Well, currently they have independence now. Many African countries, they have independence, okay, although they're still very largely influenced by other countries, but they to some extent have independence. Okay, now this is a write-up on Alexander himself, so we're not going to read through all of that, but we just want to point out that Egypt was only one of a large number of territories taken by Alexander from the Persians. So that is further reiterating that things moved from Medes and the Persians onto Greece, onto the Greek. Okay. So, and he was crowned at the temple of Ptah at Memphis. Memphis is in Egypt. So there were some demonic prophecies also, or prophecies of demonic side of things, the evil side of things, that still saw things about him, and they were following him up basically. So it appears that Egyptian people did not find it disturbing that a foreigner was their king and all that. So he look at what he did. So Alexander restored the temples neglected by the Persians. Persians definitely had an encounter with God. The first king of the Persians, back and forth, they allowed first the people to return to their land, as we see on the timeline. They allowed people to return to their land. Okay. He allowed people to return to their land, and then he even commemorated the building of their temple. He started it. and give them funds for it, okay, in an exceeding way. I think he even gave them soldiers at the point. So, but this Alexander, and that is why you hear more of Alexander in what you call mainstream media and information than you will hear about the king of Cyrus, the kings of the Persians, because those ones were pushing, they are working along the line of Yeshua. They were for him to a large extent. Okay, and this is just to show us he had interaction with Africa, as against what you see in the maps when they tell you the Roman Empire is just here. The question is, what kept them from going deeper into the continent? Okay, but this is just to show us he had interacted with Libyan deserts, and some prophecies are even talking that he had horns. Okay, so that's the enemy seeing what Yahweh has spoken already, revealed unto the servant Daniel. So, and they talk about a prophecy. Okay, so during that time he founded Alexandria, and the reason why we circled this is that for him to have put a city in Africa, Alexandria is in Egypt. For him to have put a city in Africa, it shows how important Africa is. And by the way, we know that is where Babylon was. Okay, so the Babylonians taking they were taken over by the Persians. Persians is on this side of things. So, and the capital of the world was still around somewhere here, constantly for a very long time. So for him to have put Alexandria here, it just shows how important that city is in northern Africa there, which they don't like to call Africa. They like to call this place Middle East, but apparently it's Africa. Okay, so 22. We stop at 21. Let's go to 22. So now, being broken, whereas 4 stood up for his kingdom. This is interpretation of those horns and all. 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. So history still has it here. If you just type on Google, who succeeded Alexander the Great? So instead of one successor, however, there were actually 4 generals who succeeded Alexander the Great: Antigonus, Cassander, Ptolemy, and Seleucus. So this is where Seleucus came in. Okay, Seleucid Empire, Ptolemaic Empire, Ptolemaic Dynasty, Seleucid Dynasty. Alright, so eventually this Antigonus was basically attacked by these 3 and they got him off. And at that 275 BC, where everything settled, when it dust cleared, okay, after these 50, you were left with just 4. This Antigonus was out of the way at the end of the day. Okay, you had Ptolemy, Seleucus, Cassander, and a guy called Lysimachus. But they are not too important as far as prophecy is concerned, but at least you've got 4 is the point. Okay, so in the later time is in brown again because it has to do with time of the kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of furious countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. So I used to think this is talking about something in our own recent time. To be honest with you, I used to think it's talking about something recent, about something happening in America or something like that. But it's apparently it is not. You see that this is literally the next verse, and it's literally talking about something that is happening just past these 4 generals, the 4 kingdoms. You see, in the later time of their kingdom, it's talking about those 4. Okay, when transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. Okay, he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper in practice, and shall destroy the mighty and holy people. That's the people of the Most High. And through his policy he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, that's the Most High, or Yeshua probably, but he shall be broken without hands. So let's not forget what we were animating. So yeah, we have these 4. So that's why you have Lysimachus here as against Antigonus. Okay, but most times you have to bother only with these 2. Okay, they are the kings of the north, kings of the south, that we'll talk about in Daniel 11. We'll get to that today by God's grace. Okay, so let's keep reading. Yeah, so this is all we've said. Fierce countenance, with peace he will destroy many. By the way, I think it is very possible that history or prophecy is kind of duplicated. I think that is very possible. We will not rule that out. But prophecies usually have a primary major interpretation. That is the real interpretation. As literal as it might seem. I mean, you could literally take some of these prophecies as scriptures and pray with them sometimes and stuff like that. But there will be a primary, more literal interpretation of that prophecy, okay, than maybe some other ones that just seem to keep looping in the future. Okay, so we'll not rule that out. But apparently the primary interpretation is the things we're seeing here. Okay, so with peace you'll destroy many. Let's keep going. So you'll be destroyed without hands. It keeps emphasizing that. That's what jumped in there. Oh, let's just keep reading. We're just here already. So and through policy will destroy, broken without a hand. We saw that. And the vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true. Wherefore shut thou up the vision, for it shall be for many days. This many days was also written in brown. Excuse me, it was written in brown because it has to do with time. Okay, we expect that many days to be animated here. Okay, it's not quite there. It's for many days. But he'll still repeat it and we'll show it in this our chart here. Okay. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days. Afterwards I rose up and did the king's business, and I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it. Or he will be allowed to understand it shortly. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's go up there. Yeah, there we are. Okay, so but none understood it. So let's keep reading Daniel 9 now. Thank you, Father. In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes, which was made the king over the realms of Chaldeans. So this is son of Ahasuerus. That's it there. Let's bring it back again at the top there. So there he is. So he's of the seed of the Medes. This is where Daniel was. He literally went from here up until here. He was in these two dynasties. He saw that crossing. In fact, he literally prophesied it. Yeah. Mene Shekel Perez Parsin. Okay, so that's him. And where the Chaldeans are is here. Okay, so this is still within this region of northern Africa. Okay. So he was made to see some things, and we just jump to verse 24 because that's what's important. And these verses are very, very critical, and a lot of people have attempted to try to interpret it, but we believe we have something quite accurate, slightly different from what you might have out there. Okay, but he agrees with most things. Okay, but let's just read it. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people. 7 weeks is in brown because it talks about time. And upon the holy city, to 1, finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision. You see that word, the vision again, and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. We think this most holy is talking about Yeshua. Okay. So know therefore and understand that from this apparently was written in a straight verse, but we'll just put it this way. It's easier to see what it's talking about when we list it that way. So know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto a Mashiach the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks, basically 69 weeks. That's in brown again. The street shall be built again, and the walls even in troublous times. Okay, and oops, that all of that is being animated here, by the way. Okay, because if you keep it in a flow like this, we've said that many times, it's difficult to follow. Okay, 62 weeks. Okay. And after 62 weeks, the Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself, and the people of the prince. Now this is another prince. This is a bad prince. This is a good prince, the prince of the host. This one is a bad prince. And the people of the prince shall come and destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end therefore shall be with a flood. Okay, we put this flood here because we'll talk about flood again, which I think is talking about war. Okay, I think that's talking about 70 AD. Okay, but let's just keep going. Shall be with the flood unto the end of the war of desolations are determined. Okay, and let's keep reading. And he shall confirm the covenant. This is the bad person now. Confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and oblations to cease. Okay, and for the overspreading of abominations, and he shall make it desolate even unto the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So I think this is all of that. We just put it here. Okay, time is still in brown like before. Okay, so Daniel 10, we're moving fast. Thank God for speed. In the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a thing was revealed unto Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar. It's different from Belshazzar. Let's show you Daniel. Cyrus, the king of Persia, is still within this Medo-Persian time. That's why we put it here. Okay, a thing was revealed unto Daniel, who is Belteshazzar. Okay, so it's different from Belshazzar. It is Belteshazzar. There should be an E here, really. Okay, so that's Daniel, just to show you. Well, of course, a representation of Daniel. So, and where does it go? Where is the bell? Yeah, and the thing was true, but the time appointed was long. Yeah, you see, the time appointed was long. In other words, from this time of this Daniel, who's Belteshazzar, up until the time of the everlasting kingdom, the starting of the everlasting kingdom at the end of this Iron and Clay dynasty, is a long time. So just keep this in mind when we've put it here. Okay, it's a long time. There's a reason why we are saying it is long. Because we would come to the future where we would start reading scriptures written around this time, and it would start telling you the time is short, you see. And he understood the thing, and he had understanding of the vision. Okay, but the prince of the kingdom of Persia, watch this, prince of Persia, this is the spiritual realm of things, withstood me, that's that Gabriel speaking. We've jumped from 1 to 13 just to pick important verses. And 120 days, but lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings. These are the physical people of Persia. Okay, now the kings of Persia, these are the physical ones, probably, or maybe some other spirits under this prince. Okay, now I am come to make thee understand. So when you hear prince of Persia in scripture, you see, you understand that normally we pray, you know, that, oh God, whatever prince of Persia is stopping my blessing and all that. And you see, and just like what I've been saying, or what I said just before, that these things they have the direct literal interpretation, and then they have the looping prophetic interpretations, if you will call it that. Okay, which you can pray whatever king of Persia is stopping whatever should be taken out of his place and things like that. Okay. So that's that about prince of Persia. It's talking about this Persia this time. Okay. Now I am come to make you to understand, is what Gabriel is saying, what shall befall thy people in the latter days, because the vision is for many days. You see, he's not talking that Daniel is going to keep seeing visions for 2-3 weeks or what. You know, he's saying this thing called the vision. There's something called the vision. Okay, and that's talking about this, when this kingdom starts. Okay, basically the kingdom of Yeshua. Okay, so it's for many days before it happens. I think we still emphasize that, yeah, the vision is for many days, you see. Then said he, knowest thou wherefore I came to thee? And now will I return to fight with the prince of Persia? The prince does not want to leave. He wants to keep, just like Nebuchadnezzar made a full statue of gold. When he's been told clearly that the statue is this way: gold, silver, bronze, iron and clay. But the next chapter you will see that he went to make a full statue of gold. What does that mean? He wants his kingdom to continue without end. It's a natural thing for the flesh to do. It takes someone yielded to the spirit to say, okay, Father, it's your time for a change, then I yield to you. I don't want to relinquish power. Even the spirit behind it doesn't want to relinquish power. Okay, so fight with the prince of Persia, and when I am gone forth, lo, the prince of Grecia shall come. So let's have that. So that's when the prince of Grecia will come. Okay. All right. So that's it. So another prince comes forth, and things change. So let's go to Daniel 11. Okay, moving fast. So we'll still talk about. Don't forget, we'll start decoding these times very soon, which is where I'm sure a lot of people will be waiting for, but we know we have to build things to that point, especially for people that might not have read these scriptures that way before. Okay, so let's go to Daniel 11, and I, which is here, there we go. So don't forget, we've not lost this, it's still there. Okay, we just move to the next page. It's not, it's not that we've lost it. So Daniel 11, prophecies and history. So, and also I, in the first year of Darius the Medes, we've said that before, even when I stood to confirm and to strengthen that king. Okay, he was with him in the cabinet, basically. He was part of his leadership team. And now will I show thee the truth. Okay, behold, oh, that's probably an angel speaking, by the way. But either way, let's keep going. And now I will show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet three kings in Persia. Okay, see that? 3 kings in Persia, right? And the fourth shall be richer, and the fourth shall be far richer than they all, and by his strength and through his riches he will stir up all against the realms of Grecia. Okay, we just make the fourth king bigger than them. Okay, it's richer. So we'll stir up the realms of Grecia. So this is where Greece is. This is Rome. This is Italy. This is the United Kingdom. I think this is Ireland. This is Spain. And this is Northern Africa. This is Arabia. So you stir up the realms of Grecia. We just represented that way. Okay, and a mighty king shall stand up and shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. We know that king is Alexander, but we're still going to show you how it is. I mean, you will see it in the next verses now. So that will stand up and shall rule with a great dominion. So you see, it's the same story 2, 3, 4, 5 times. The same story, the same flow. Okay? He will rule with a great dominion and do according to his will. And when he shall stand up, but his will was not able to stop death, by the way. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken and shall be divided toward the 4 winds of heaven, and not to his posterity. Okay? So we already know the people that took over from him were not his children. So no, according to his dominion which he ruled, for his kingdom shall be plucked up, even for others beside those. So we know that that's between Cassander, Lysimachus, okay, Ptolemy, and most people will put Seleucus here, but this is where Seleucus really is. Okay, and under him you have Antiochus, where Antioch is, somewhere around. Is in Africa also. Okay, so the question is that most people will ask is how is Seleucus here? For an average Bible reader like myself, okay, or rather let me say for most people, I mean, to be on a more serious note, for most people they don't know these names and they're like, Seleucus, I don't know what Seleucus is. It can be anywhere he likes. Let him go anywhere he wants to go. But if you've been studying these things, you know that Seleucus probably should not be in Africa. And the reason you would think that way is because of what mainstream would tell us about the Roman Empire, where the borders are, and it's not very accurate for apparent reasons. So the way we will close today in the next 10-15 minutes, hopefully, that we're able to finish that fast, is to explain how Seleucus is in Africa. But basically, for those that don't know all these names and all that, you don't need to worry. It's the same thing that we've proven of how the Euphrates is in West Africa and Nile is in Tigris is the Nile, okay, and it's the same thing, because the events that you were trying to say that Seleucus was reigning, the people who was reigning over are over the people of Israel and Judah. That's where Jerusalem is. So if we are saying that Jerusalem is in Africa, apparently Seleucus then must be in Africa. But this is just another opportunity to further reinforce the things that we've seen, explain again, reinforce, reestablish the explanations of how Yasharel, which is Israel, is in Africa. Okay, this is another opportunity to do that. So, like we said, we are running timeline from the time of Adam up until present day, and while we're talking about timeline, we'll be talking about characters, we'll be talking about locations, talking about events, which are other components of history and prophecy. So now let's explain how Seleucus and the Seleucid Empire is in Africa. Okay. Now, where is that? Where is it? Okay. So yes. So can you please explain how Seleucid Empire is in Africa? So first, let's see the incorrect information out there, and we like saying this, that this is with due respect, utmost respect to people that made these charts and did these prophecies and put scriptures together like that. Okay, I mean, there were things I myself, and the more God shows you things, the more He humbles you. So we're not just saying this is rubbish. Oh, absolutely not, absolutely not. Without their work, there'll be no place really for us to start. Okay, so it would be unwise to just say their works are not important. That's not true. Okay, so now let's explain that. So this is what you have out there. You have all of that: Cassander, Lysimachus, Antigonus, which was come. How are you? Go and play in your room. That is recording. Come. Go and stay in your room, okay? Fast. Okay, so this is what we had. This is what you see out there, okay, about where these four dynasties are. In fact, this is actually a secular source, and the scriptural sources were basically misled, so to speak, by this secular explanation of history. So this is where history and prophecy are really beginning to clash, so to speak. Okay, all right, so let's go. They put Seleucid here, Seleucus here, so let's go. So this, you see, this person is saying this is the prophecies, okay, and they put Seleucus in the north here, and we're in Daniel 11. It talks a lot about the kings of the south and the kings of the north. But with this map that we have here, you have to conclude, this secular map, this mainstream map, you have to conclude, one will be erroneously concluding that Seleucus is the king of the north, and he is not. He's in fact the king of the south, okay, and Ptolemy is the king of the north. So look at what they've also done here. Is the same thing. I think the same site, same website. So yeah, they've gotten rid of Antigonus here, by the way. So this Seleucus is the king of the south, from what we've seen, and he's the king of the north because Seleucus is here. Okay, so let's quickly touch that. By God's grace, hopefully we'll finish in the next few minutes. We don't want to take too much of your time or make the video go too long. Okay, so let's hit it running. So there's something called the Diadochi Wars, which we have touched a little bit when we were talking about this. There's something called the Diadochi Wars. This is it. It's just this Diadochi, I think it means successors, okay, in that language. It means successors. So so the Wars of Diadochi was the wars of Alexander's successors. They were a series of conflict fought between his generals known as the Diadochi, over who would rule his empire following his death, after Alexander's death. So the fighting occurred between 332 and 281, okay, and settled around 275, lasting about 50 years, is what we saw in the timeline, is still here, okay. So Ptolemy, well, let's read that quickly. Alexander the Great conquers Persia, dies, and then there was the Diadochi Wars over his empire shortly after his death, which lasted about 50 years till about 275 BC, and resulted in him being succeeded by 4 generals: Ptolemy, Seleucus, Antigonus, and Cassander. I thought there was something more detailed than that. Okay, I think it's in the write-up. Okay, so Ptolemy and his dynasty, after these 50 years, these are the things that we started seeing, okay? These are the things that we started seeing. Ptolemy was over Egypt, apparently. Okay, so Ptolemy and his dynasty became historians. It's what history even itself says. And when somebody is becoming a historian, they could change things. And it was during his time, see, that what we call the Renaissance paintings really started. Just to give you a few Renaissance paintings, just to tell you what Renaissance paintings are. It's just these things that what's the guy called, Da Vinci, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo. Those are two very popular painters, of the Renaissance. They also drew the Mona Lisa and all that. So they are the ones that started drawing Yahweh to look like this. They started drawing the prophets to look like this. Okay, and that was around 1700, basically after the Middle Ages. You see the pictures. Look at the pictures. Okay, so they often tend to draw these biblical characters like that. You see, this is one of the 12 disciples paintings, and people have those pictures in their houses, particularly houses in the West, and houses in regions that are controlled by the West, okay, by the Western world, basically. So you see, this painting is very popular. I think we even had this in our house at the time, myself. I can't remember, but it's a very familiar painting. Okay, but this is not how the disciples looked. Okay, skin color is not important, really. We have friends, beautiful ministers and all that are of the skin color that you're seeing here, but it's just something we have to discuss as we go ahead in history. It's inevitable to discuss that. Okay, but just saying, and it's important to know that the disciples did not look like this, and Yeshua did not look like this. It was a lot more of a bronze skin, so to speak. Okay, brown skin, African skin color. He was African, essentially, but it's okay. So that's what Renaissance painting is. Okay, so but it's not called Renaissance painting in the time of Ptolemy, but that idea of painting scriptures to appear like Europeans or lighter skinned people started, or at least we know it began as early as this time. Okay, so I will show that to you shortly. So he reigned over Cilicia. That area kept being dragged between him and the Seleucids, by the way. Okay, and which had another Tripolis. So the maps that started coming out describing these Ptolemaic dynasties and that period after the Diadochi settled into 4 kingdoms, okay, started showing two Tripolises. Tripolis is the capital of Libya, by the way, but you start seeing Tripolis in 2 places. You start seeing Alexandria, which is in Egypt, but you start seeing it somewhere else. You start seeing Tyre in another place. Okay, so it's just as shown in this 1930. Just a minute. Just a minute. Okay, okay. All right. right, so here we are. Yes, so you start seeing those. It will show you in the map shortly. Is so that's when we start seeing two Alexandrias. We start seeing two Ptolemaises. Ptolemy is the name of the guy. Ptolemy is the name of the guy. The place where he ruled is called Ptolemais. He called it Ptolemais. Alexander is the name of the man. He called that capital Alexandria. Seleucus, Antiochus is the name of the guy. He called the place where he ruled Antioch. So things like that. So we start having two Alexandrias, two Ptolemaises, two Tripolises, and hence we start having two Tigrises and two Euphrateses, of which Euphrates really is apparently here really, but then you start seeing Euphrates here and things like that, because they started Ptolemy is really here, but you started seeing Ptolemy here. Tripoli is actually here in northern Africa. You started seeing Tripoli here and all that. So let's keep going. So now I want to use this man as and by the way, he started in the time of Ptolemy, he continued in the time of Renaissance, and it's still going on till today as we speak. So I want to use this elder, this minister, as an example, okay, as a typical example. Is a contemporary version of what was happening in the Renaissance times when they were repainting the disciples and all. Okay, let's see if we can get this to you in a bigger picture. Okay, there we go. So so let's look at this picture, for example. See, we just look at this. It says it all. So it says this is the same way Adam, Enoch, Moses, Yeshua, Josephus, and others ended up looking British, looking, and other guys and things and stuff ended up in a British museum. Okay, so things it's just called whitewashing. Excuse me. That's what the people call whitewashing of history. Okay, anything that looks good and like that, it's just a natural carnal thing for anybody to do. Okay, that's the way I can describe it. It's a natural carnal thing for anybody to do. So anything that is good, that looks right and nice, it is credited to your own history. But if it's looking bad and ugly and all that, you just push it away like it's not yours. Okay, so we want to take this minister, this elder. He is apparently, to a large extent, is probably a Jew. Of course, I've not done his DNA test, but it's likely he's a Jew. Okay, or Hebrew at the very least. By the way, we have Hebrews. Hebrew is the larger people, the Hebrew people of that are descendants of Eber. Abraham himself is a Hebrew, but then you have Israel, Yasharel, the grandson of Abraham, and then you have Judah, is the southern kingdom of Israel. So it's Judah, Israel, Hebrew, Israel, Judah, and then Jerusalem is the capital. Okay, so Jerusalem, say, you be witness unto me in Jerusalem, in Judea, that's Judah, in Samaria, that's the northern kingdom, and the uttermost part of the earth. And even if you look at that prophecy, that statement, you will see that it speaks as though Jerusalem is at the edge and the corner of something, such that it is radiating outward. Okay, and apparently that's how it is, because you have Judah in southern Africa. Okay, you have another kingdom of Judah in that West African part, but then you have Judah, Samaria is the northern kingdom, and you radiate out of Africa like that. Okay, we will get to the journeys of Paul, and you see all these things we were saying, that gospel started from that southern part of Africa like that, and it spread outward, okay, into all of the continents. But let me not get ahead of myself. So let's read. So when independent writers were writing, just people that were just writers, in fact, you could see there is 0 comment here, 0 shares. So is this not mainstream like Wikipedia and Britannica? So these are just independent writers. This is the man. He's apparently African. Okay. And when they were writing, they just told us, but Bishop Samuel, that's his name by the way, Samuel Ajayi Crowther. Okay, he gave himself this Crowther because he was rescued from slavery. Okay, and he picked up that English name. So he was born in Nigeria, Oyo State, Iseyin local government, formerly Oshogun, and he was born in 1809. It tells you his story. Now look at this other independent writer. He was born around 1807 in Yoruba land. Yoruba is the language that we put on that list, by the way, okay, where we have Yoruba, Hebrew, English. So he's from that Yoruba land. So that is now Nigeria, and approximately age 13 he was enslaved by Oyo Fulani Muslims. Those are the northern kingdoms and all of the Chaldees, okay, that the northern part of Nigeria. Okay, so he was taken slavery by those people, and those will have Arab connections. Okay, so and then talk about slave trade, because he was rescued. Okay, so but when Wikipedia mainstream were going to do it, they started modifying his face. Okay, they started putting a smile, of which in real life he didn't have so much smiles like that, because he was really very persecuted. Okay, he was persecuted because of his skin color. He's the first bishop of something somewhere. All right, so and when they were going to start drawing him, look at in the picture, a name was written inside of the picture and it's been misspelled. It's become Ajay, and it is Ajayi. Okay, or it's become Ajay. After a while, they were going to drop this name at the end of the day, because that's how these things happen. Okay, and he's got glasses already, so this mouth is beginning to change. So Christianity came to Nigeria 15th century through oh my word, this is funny. So it's like you say, hey, gentlemen, can you tell me the history of Samuel Ajayi Crowther? And you started by saying Christianity came into Nigeria by through Augustinian and Capuchin monks in Portugal. Hey man, tell us about Ajayi Crowther. And you first told us where Christianity came from. Okay, so those are the things that people do when they're in the flesh. That's a nice way to explain it, by the way. Okay, to say it's in the flesh. Okay, so the first mission of the Church of England, tell us about Ajayi Crowther. Established in 1842. Why didn't you start from Adam altogether? Okay, so 1946. Look at it. See how many names is mentioned before talking about the person we asked you to talk about, right? Charles Longley, Archbishop of Canterbury, consecrated Reverend Samuel Ajayi Crowther, Bishop of the Niger Mission. So he had to put the name of the person that consecrated him. Is it? So he's nothing without Charles Longley. That's what that means. So these are things that the flesh does, and we must, to be on a serious note, we should endeavor to just keep away from the flesh. Is what the flesh does. Now the flesh is a very nice way to describe these things. Okay, it goes deeper than that, but it's expressed by the flesh. Like you see, you have the prince of Persia. You have the kings of Persia, and you have the first king of Persia, and things like that. So these things are run from the spirit realm. So you never know what prophecy that spirits, evil spirits, particularly in this context, are using your flesh to accomplish or to destruct. You never know. You never know. And they cannot do anything on the earth without human beings, you see. But they're depending on your flesh to be successful. These evil spirits, you see. So just tell us about Crowther. You went through all of that history, and then you put his name here. All right. So and started talking about stuff. Okay, so that's fine. So and now you see, look at his picture. Pretending, look at who got this. You see, I told you the name. They're gonna drop it eventually. It's just Crowther. You see, or probably it's just been screenshot out, but that's the beginning of the screenshot. So it's called Crowther. Just the last name is what they picked up. Okay, charcoal drawing by an unknown artist. Okay, but what website is the unknown artist hosted? Britannica. That's Britain. So, and that's where things are in a British museum. So now you see he's got that smile. You see there's a little more smile. His smile is more than now. Now we don't. This calls it Pinocchio nose. So Pinocchio, if you know Pinocchio, you know what I'm talking about. So, in other words, it's just trying to just lie, basically. Lying about things. So his picture, and they've taken it from this fairly colored version, okay, up until the black and white. Okay, I tell you, when this picture is going to come out in the next 10-20 years, if things still keep running this way, it's going to be back in color. Okay, his skin is going to look like this, and then this Ajayi name is out of it. And this man, we know this man. Okay, we know him. he translated Yoruba Bible, English Bible to the Yoruba Bible, English Bible to Yoruba. I think the very first Yoruba translation was done by him. Okay, so that's that. So this is the Renaissance times when these pictures, this is Yeshua, they've changed the hair already, and the skin was not changed yet at that time, but then apparently this guy is gonna finish the job. So, but this is it. This has been happening since about 150 BC, and that's that book. Okay, First Maccabees again, this time chapter 3, verse 48. And apparently this book had to be eliminated from scriptures. I still had one Bible one time when I was younger, when I could still see Maccabees. I can remember clearly. But again, the Bible had a lot of pictures, but then the pictures were this line pictures. If you remember that Bible, it's just this line stick diagram. There's no face really to it. It's just line diagrams like that. Okay, so the same First Maccabees 3:48 says, and laid open the book of the law. Something was happening then, but these Hebrews, okay, they laid open the book of the law, okay, wherein the heathen, that is basically people from the Japheth tribes in the northern kingdoms, and this was the time of Alexander and all, or actually the Seleucids, they were Greeks. So where the heathen had sought to do what? Paint the likeness of their images, you see. So this has started as long as 175 BC, you see. Before you are now seeing some more of that in the Renaissance times, and this is more recent than Renaissance probably, and then until now, still going on now. This picture was to come out in color probably, and by the time the skin color would have changed, and the nose is ready for the skin color change. So that's by the way. Okay, let's get back to what we're doing. So that's that about that picture. So let's see this. Yeah, so that's called Hellenization. That is called all of that. Okay. So Ptolemy, don't forget, is in the northern part of things. This is running, but this is okay. We're still within the frame of time. God helping us. Okay, but we'll soon be done. So, so Ptolemy I Sota is said to be a historian. Okay, just pulling out his stuff from Wikipedia. So, Sota, and he was the pharaoh of the Ptolemaic Egypt around that time. So he started. And apparently he was Hellenistic. Hellen is the Greek word for Greek. Okay, they call themselves Hellenes, but later they were called Greeks. Okay, but that Hellen just means Greek. So Hellenization means Greekization, so to speak. Okay, so he started bringing the Greek culture into Egypt largely. So look at the map I was talking about, Diadochi. So you can look. We've got this is one of the maps. You see another one further down. So Ptolemy somehow it can be here, but the point is it should be here. Okay, in Africa, Northern Africa, but you start seeing Ptolemais here also, and from there you start putting Seleucus here, start putting Tigris and Euphrates there, and all of that thing can start happening. So this is a closer one. Now let's pop this up again on a clearer map. Where's the guy? There he is. So so you start seeing, you see you have Tyre there. That's not where Tyre is. Tyre is inside Africa. This is Ake Ptolemais. You can as well put F there to make fake Ptolemais. And so you start seeing Tripolis here. Tripolis, by the way, is the capital of Libya. There's no way Tripolis is here. Okay, but it's by doing that you can start putting Antioch here. This is another Alexandria. You start putting Antioch here and saying this is Mesopotamia, and that is not Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is in between the two rivers, Tigris and Euphrates, and the Tigris and Euphrates are not here. They're in Africa. Okay, what you call Africa today. Okay, so this is Mesopotamia. Look at how many names it's gotten over time. Ispadan is Spartan, Aram is Haran, is Syria, is Mesopotamia. Okay, this is where it is. Okay, so so look at this map. El Puerto de Ofir y la Antigua Derrotades Tarsis. Okay, it's written in Spanish. Okay, so El Puerto de Ofir la Antigua Derrotad Tarsis is saying this is the port of Ophir. Okay, the ancient defeat of Tarshish. That's the defeat that was accomplished by Tarshish. Tarshish is let's show that to you. Oh, let's close this first off. Let's open the map. So Tarshish is basically Spain. Okay, Tarshish is Spain, and that's it. There you have it there, Tarso. Okay, Tarsis, Tarso. So let's go back there. So Las Islas is talking about the islands, but look at this is the important thing. Derrotados Tyrios y Hebreos is saying this is the victory of over the tyrants, people of Tyre, and the Hebrews. Okay, and that's what that is saying there. Tarsos, look at this. The Red Sea is El Roxo, that's the Red Sea there. So Derrotados Tyrios y Hebreos is saying to defeat them, tyrants and Hebrews. Well, basically saying the defeat of them tyrants and the Hebrews. That's people of Tyre and the Hebrews. And look at where he wrote that. They came from Tarshish all that way, and they did an expedition that way. Okay, and they overcame tyrants. So for them to have written that this way, oh boy, it means that definitely tyrants and Hebrews are inside this continent. You see that? So that's why we brought that up in this write-up. So let's keep going. So that's the map there. That's also in the references. You can have access to those things. So, and then you see Ptolemy should be here. The Nile is there. Egypt is there. Babylon is there. Okay, and you have Shemites there, like we said in this map. Okay, don't forget, just to keep things in perspective, like we said, we are dealing with this part of history basically from Babylon to Yeshua. Okay, and we are currently somewhere around between here and here, these two parts. When the Septuagint was written, look at, we said first Maccabees, where they drew their images, is also here in the timeline. Okay, so we are somewhere around here. Okay, we're not going to time with Yeshua yet, we're just somewhere here, okay, in history, based on this whole thing. So we're basically more like past halfway, really, up until present day. Okay, for the most part, this place will be easier for us to, for some reason. We'll see that in the future. So, by the way, the Roman Empire was about 4.4 million square kilometers, based on what they will show you. This whole area, 4.4 square kilometers. Okay, and we want to show you something, how ridiculous it is to say that small Judea here is disturbing this whole of this empire. That's got to Britannica, by the way. You still have the Hadrian Wall in United Kingdom till today. Okay, so so Roman Empire was 4.4 square kilometers and constantly being resisted by just the southern Judeo-Samaritan people, which is in total less than 6,000 square kilometers, and that is almost 1,000th of the empire. 1 out of 1,000. It's easier for me to say, oh, you know what, oh, it's a miracle, oh, it's a miracle, and the small people, God elevated them. It's easier for me to say that because I'm just forced to think that way based on what history is showing us. Okay, mainstream history. But that's not how it happened. The region was bigger than that. Let's have a look. So it's just 1 out of 1,000. The estimated, based on this history again, mainstream history, is about 2 million people on average that are in the Roman population. Yet this Bar Kokhba, okay, one of the revolts in 163, okay, this 132 CE rather, was able to raise a soldier of up to 400,000 people. So in other words, someone here, 1,000th of this whole territory, was able to raise an army of 400,000, which is about 1/4 of the whole population of the people. Not the army of the empire, but the population of the empire. 1/4, almost 1/4, 1/5 of the army. Someone was able to raise it in this tiny place. It is out of proportion. It's disproportionate. And look at where this map calls Africa, by the way. Look at it here. It's calling this place Africa. That doesn't make sense. What then is this whole continent? You see, it's not consistent. So, still talking about the devastation that these tiny people caused the whole empire, which they have been doing before the Roman Empire in the Greek time and in the Roman time. Look at this tiny, just tiny somewhere here. You can hardly just pinpoint here. Jerusalem, you see here. So many Romans, however, perished in this war. Therefore, Hadrian, in writing to the Senate, when he wanted to write a paper back home, he did not employ the opening phrase commonly employed by emperor, because, okay, let's just read it. If you and your children are in health, it is well, and I and the enemy are in health, is in quote. What he's trying to say is that when they want to write a letter, which I read some of those letters myself in the Antiquities of the Jews, that book, when they want to write a letter, they will say, "Oh, if you and your children are in health, it is well. I and the army are also in health." That's how they opened their letter. But this battle was so fierce that it's either he didn't have the time or he just had to be sincere and he just cut that unnecessary protocol, because things were not going good at all. It was a very, very terrible and fierce battle for both sides of the thing. So they needed a way to get rid of that menace, so to speak. They could not control that population, so they had to cut them off basically. And that's why till today they will not. That's why, look at it in the map. It's either the Roman Empire didn't cover the whole world, didn't cover most of the whole world like it is said, okay, or because apparently what is stopping them from entering all these regions? There must be something strong in Africa stopping them, apparently. Or they actually conquered a large portion of the world, including Africa, which you know in scriptures to be true. But some of those areas obtained independence, and today's history just doesn't want to talk about them at all. They don't want to talk about them at all. So they have to cut off the story. These people don't have a history. They don't exist. They were in trees. Don't talk about them. Stop it. They are here. This is the people, and they took people from the tribe of Japheth to come here. Don't talk about them. In fact, only that is not quite important to our history. There are some things that happen in Russia that were forced to be here, because there's a region called Phrygia. From the word Phrygia, means cold, by the way. That happened in Phrygia, but Phrygia has to be here. Don't talk about all those places. Just keep everything here. Okay, you know. So he cut off that protocol of that, because they probably were not in health as such. It was a terrible battle for both sides. So some argued that exceptional number of reserve Roman veterans, diplomats, and all of them around this time, 150, that's after that Bar Kokhba revolt in 130, so indicate an unprecedented conscription across Roman Empire to replenish heavy losses. You see, there were heavy losses in the military, okay, and it's as a result of those battles. So that's how bad it was. Just from that tiny empire, that tiny people there, it's not likely. It's not likely. It's convenient to say, oh, it's a miracle of God. No. That was not what happened. God could do these dumb miracles, but this one is a misrepresentation of history. I need to stop rushing. I feel like I'm rushing. I need to stop it. Okay? We'll run this through to what time it takes, but probably it won't get to 2 hours. I hope it's not that long. But people that need it are going to be patient to run through it, because it's important. So they had to do that. So, and between 133 and 135, the revolt that took place at those times. So let's look below. Watch this, at the proportion of the Middle East, Judea, okay, in red, to the Roman Empire. Look at it, just tiny place. And meanwhile, that is even the whole of that area that I wrote in red. This one. Okay, the whole of this area of this name is this, okay, and it's only the southern part, somewhere little here, that is just Judea, and that part is disturbing this whole empire. No. So 50 of their most important outposts, 985 of their most famous villages were razed to the ground. 580,000 men were killed. That's amongst the Jews. You didn't tell us how many were killed among the Romans. Okay, but let's just leave that. So we even say 400,000 soldiers. Is more than that. Various rates of the battle, and perished. Some perished through famine and disease, and they passed finding out. So nearly the whole of Judah was made desolate. Okay, and really it was, and it still is, the real Judah in the southern Africa. There are some parts there that are desolate. Let's keep reading. So the Bar Kokhba revolt. We're wrapping up soon. Oh my. Okay, we're wrapping up soon. So a more lasting punishment. This will help. This would basically be for those that have taken their time to study it, okay? And if they have further questions, they probably would mail. Most people don't anyways, but just so that we can do justice to these things for those that have really studied this, so that they can appreciate why it is not the way they think it is, okay? So just be patient with them. You know, when you're watching YouTube, they show you a little summary of some data, and they'll write somewhere stats for the nerds. That is for those that like studying deep into things. If you want the complex statistics, come to this section, or we'll leave that section out. So this is one of those sections. Just be patient with those who have read in depth and they have a different opinion, we have to explain these things. Okay, but still stay hooked if you can. So furthermore, lasting punishment. Now this is very important. Furthermore, lasting punishment were implemented by Romans in an attempt to erase the memory of Judea. Okay, from ancient Israel, the name Judea was dropped from the province name, Provincia Judea. That's the name before it became Syria. This name, okay, it was renamed this. Okay, so despite, and we still have that name till today. Okay, so despite such name changes taking place elsewhere, rebellions have never resulted in a nation's name being completely expunged like this. They don't expunge a country's name completely like that. They just rename places a little bit and then they but to expunge them like this, no. But this way they had to expunge them. That's the effect of that tiny people on this whole empire. You know. So now watch this. This is very, very important. Now this one is not for the nerds. You need to see this. So similarly, under the argument to ensure posterity, the posterity of a newly founded Roman colony. So it's a newly founded place. It's not the same place. What's the name of the place? Aelia Capitolina. That's where the Syria was. The Syria province was. The Jews were forbidden to enter except on the day of Tisha B'Av. So it's a newly founded colony. And from there they started sending money to build that temple you see in that place today that they do their fightings and their wars. So that's the wrong people. The wrong people, right? The wrong tribe. This is the tribe, the Ashkenazi at the very best. Okay? So that's the wrong tribe of people. That's them here. Not that they are wrong people in themselves, but they're not the people in this tribe, right? They're the people in the modern state of this country. Okay? Fighting for the wrong land, okay, and the wrong temple. Do you see how confused it is? So by destroying the association of Jews with Judea and forbidding the practice of the Jewish faith, so Hadrian aimed to root out the nation and has afflicted heavy casualties on the Roman Empire. So it is in the effect an attempt to erase them from the whole thing that brought about this story we have today. You still have them giving the impression that they were here. No. There is no way Israel will be 40 times smaller than Egypt where they were brought from, you see. Because in reality they were brought from South and Western Africa, all those regions in inland Africa, okay, into Egypt, okay? No. There is no way Israel will be 40 times smaller than Egypt. Okay, we've dealt with that in the past. So look at this. As a punishment for the revolt, the Romans renamed Jerusalem to Aelia Capitolina. Okay? They renamed Jerusalem and they actually changed the location to Aelia Capitolina and the province to Syria, this name. Okay? Jews were prohibited, we've said that before. So look at the screenshot below. So Jerusalem was rebuilt at the Roman colony. The reason why we're screenshotting this is because Wikipedia changes things, okay? Based on updates is what they say, okay? They change things, so it's good we have the screenshot here. So finally, the places that was renamed, the most renamed place in the world, arguably. So after the Armenian genocide, there was a systematic destruction of the Armenian people done by the Ottoman Empire during World War I, and these wars were funded by both sides. Okay, both sides of these, okay, many wars like that in history were funded by both sides of the war were funded by one people, okay, to achieve a greater common goal. So look at that. They were displaced, okay? And this is the massacres. You see how the picture there? Let's see if it's gonna put it up for us. Okay. So, and during the time under the Kemalist government, so this is it. You find it the name changes in Turkey. Just check for place name changes in Turkey. You see that fact we talked about. We've said it in the beginning. 4,000 mountains were renamed. There's also something called the Palestinian Exploration Fund. We're rounding off soon. Palestinian Exploration Fund. Okay, it was founded under this Queen Victoria, and despite that, and look at it, it's founded by British clergymen, soldiers, scientists, politicians, and all that. And what they were doing was digging things as far as biblical history. You see, because that history needed to be modified. They're not going to keep that history the way it is. Okay, you find that on their website anyways. And they said, well, based on the fight and all that is going on in this region of the world, that, well, they are very sorry what is going on. But despite those fights, there were excavations going on and more discoveries were taking place there. You see, despite that. And that's done by mainstream as we know it. And, you know, the people that lead the world, you see, in highlight here. So these things must be said. They may seem inconvenient, but they need to be said. Okay. And they said, well, despite that, we are sorry about that. But despite all these, there is enough manpower and staff to carry out archaeological discoveries, as you would call it, in those areas. So it's as good as saying that. In fact, I'll just wrap up by saying it this way, that it is not so much as so that there could still be excavations going on in that region of that place. We don't want to mention its name. It's not that there are excavations going on there despite the wars happening there, but rather it makes you want to begin to wonder if really the wars are so that excavations can be successfully carried out. You see, and it's not the first time in history. First World War, Second World War, wars change history, generally speaking. So you see. And I'll also say this in closing, that it is apparent that the intelligence and the longevity that is controlling this gradual change of history that we saw even in that picture of that man Ajayi Crowther there, okay, the history controlling it, and it's still active till today. Look at it. It's what we've just written here, we've just drawn here, right? Look at it here. Okay, the history, the spirits controlling this kind of things, starting from this time around 150 BC. Maybe it's even started before then, particularly this changing of image and all that. Okay, the demons that are in charge of skin color, okay, and racism and race matters, they are very ancient, and also they are of a higher intelligence than humans. Okay, but by the love of God, by the intelligence of God, we overcome such things. So the wisdom guiding it, they live longer than humans. Okay, and they're smarter than human beings. Otherwise, they would not be able to sustain that thing, and they're still doing it till now. These are ancient things, and that thing has not stopped. Well, really, the real version of these things is that kingdom of Yeshua that just keeps going and never stops. Really, that's the real version of it, and the enemy is trying to do a negative copy of that. You see. So these things are really spiritual battles, and it goes further than what human beings can understand. Even this gentleman making this painting here, he doesn't know. He's probably just doing it because he's doing it to earn a salary, or he's got some hatred he doesn't understand, and that happens to be his job also. He doesn't go deeper than that most times. Some of them are motivated by greed. And you will see that Middle East thing that's happening today in that land, we don't want to mention the name so as not to get the video flagged. You will see that at the same time, the devil is using, you see, it's a multifaceted thing. It's using the greed of some people. It's using the hatred of some people. So in the same land where they are bombing, okay, Iraq and all that, there is oil there also. There is oil there. So some people are motivated by greed. And meanwhile, what the devil is really doing is to erase a history and to mislead and to deceive the world. But at the same time, what these greedy guys can only see is just greed. Some other people, what they want is just that feeling of control over our people. So it's a win-win-win for the enemy if they keep fighting there. But those fights are going to come to an end. By the power and the name of Yeshua, those things are going to come to an end. I mean, even prophetically, they have to. Okay? but then it's a multiple kind of thing, and it's so disconnected, but there are spirits sitting on the plan view of these things, and you are not going to see that in the flesh, okay? Or if you don't study very closely, but hardly would anything push you to study that far, because most people are busy paying bills and working a job. Okay, that's the very, very short explanation for why Seleucus is in Africa and not in the northern part. Okay, for it's going to be useful for those that have studied it and have a different opinion. Okay, it will be useful for them. Hopefully they'll go check what we've said, and they're going to go see if it is true and all that. So the next part we're going to would be part 14, and then we'll continue Daniel 11:5 straight to the end, and we'll finish 12 also. So we're not able to get to the decoding of the times really yet, okay, but by God's grace we'll get there. But it's important to just straighten out some things before getting there. Is why it's like it's going long. So we'll see you in part 14 by God's grace. Let us pray before you leave, and then there'll be a short message after. We thank you, Most High, for everything you've done. We bless your name. We thank you for your grace. We thank you for your presence. We thank you for your love, for everything you've done for us. We ask that as we continue our day, as we continue our life and our journey on this earth, that you keep guiding us by your Spirit. Open up our hearts to serve you, to love you continually. We receive your protection over every power and attack of the enemy. We receive victory over every temptation of darkness. We thank you, Most High God. We speak and command your blessing over every viewer, everyone who has seen this. And we give you thanks, Most High God. We give you thanks, Father. In the name of Yeshua, we've prayed. Amen. Thank you for joining us today. See you in the next part 14. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you for joining us today. If you found this video helpful, inspiring, or valuable in any way, you can express your support by liking and sharing this video. If you're yet to do so, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on our future contents. For those looking to support this ministry financially, you can please use any of the channels now showing on your screen, or also check the video description for details to our donation channels. Please feel free to reach out to us through the provided contact methods, to join our team, or for any other inquiry. We love hearing from our community. Thank you for being part of our journey. God bless you, and see you in our next video.